lead us in prayer. The meeting is now being recorded.
Unite our hearts in prayer. Let us pray. Lord our God, we come and we give thanks this new day for every rich blessing that is ours in Jesus Christ. We thank you for the glorious gospel, a message of hope and life and light as we reflect upon the darkness of the world that we find ourselves in, a world that all too often is characterized by pain and suffering, by helplessness and despair. But yet we praise you, O Lord, that you've not left us to ourselves, but that you've given your one and only Son. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him will not perish but have everlasting life. And as we meet together, as we gather in a manner such as this, we pray that something of the light of your glorious gospel might indeed be upon us, that we would be united with a shared vision and desire to work together for the good of our young. We pray for those who are disadvantaged, the vulnerable of our society, those who even today are struggling in terms of their life in the economic state that we find ourselves in, that you would be with them also, and that as we seek to work together today, that we would keep the greater good at the forefront of our mind. O Lord, help us, we pray, and to always be mindful of the fact that you are God and that we can come and put our trust in you. And so lead us and guide us. We give thanks for all council members, for the various gifts that you've given to them, for all that they do in terms of service. We pray that you would continue to lead and guide them and help them as they seek to serve in various and different ways. Bless our meeting then, we pray, and forgive us for Jesus' sake. Amen.
You will all be well versed in the conduct of the meeting, and I'll remind everybody, because there's a few guests here, so it's just really just for their benefit. If you are a member of the committee attending remotely, please leave your camera on and your microphone off. Officers, please leave both off unless you are called to speak to a report or answer a question. A reminder to those members in the chamber of the queuing system: if you wish to ask a question, please leave your mic on in case you wish to come back on a response. Committee members will be given priority. In regard to declarations of interest, members must leave the chamber or end the call remotely. Finally, a reminder that the meeting is now being live streamed and recorded. The recording will be made available on the caller's website following the meeting. Item 4 and 7 will be taken in private at the end of the meeting, and prior to moving into private, participants other than the relevant officer and members will be asked to leave the meeting. Firstly, I'd just like, on behalf of the committee, I would like to extend our sincere condolences to Councillor Mustafa Hutchin, whose young nephew passed away recently. Very, very sudden and just only the other day. So it's quite very sad. We'll move on. We'll start with the minutes of the meeting of the 29th of November 2023 for approval as to accuracy. Is that approved? Thank you. Declaration of interest. Members are asked to declare any interest that they have in any item of the agenda. It would be helpful if members expressed why they are declaring an interest in the item concerned. Members in the chamber, please do so now by pressing your microphone or remotely through Teams by using the raise hand function. Does anyone have a declaration of interest? No. Good. Please, if there was, just in case you come across it, just as we're raising the item, just repeat it at the item, and we can deal with it there. We'll move on to item 3, which is performance management. The report provides an performance management 2022-23 quarter 3. This report provides an overview of the Education, Skills and Children's Services Department business plan progress and related for performance quarter 3. Is that right? 22-23, is it, or 21-22? 22-23, yeah, it's written on. Okay, 22-23, and Neil MacLeod will speak to the report and answer any questions. Thanks, Neil.
Again, just to take people through the report just about for children's services. All actions are on target with children's services. We report on KPIs. Two of these KPIs are off target at the moment. One of them relates to the percentage of looked after and accommodated reviews completed within statutory timescales. That's gone now to 65.85% against the 80% target. However, that has seen quite a significant improvement over the last quarter. So things are moving well, and staff have done really well to catch up with that. The percentage of initial assessment reports, social background reports submitted to SCRA, again standing at 38.16% against a target of 70. The service themselves acknowledge that there are improvements to be made there. However, they have received feedback on the quality of the reports, and that feedback has been very positive. So again, staff have been doing a really good job in bringing that back on track as much as they can. In relation to Education and Children's Services Directorate, again, all actions are on target in this area. In relation to KPIs, we report on 12. One of them is on target, one requires monitoring. There's 3 of them that are currently off target. The one to do with complaints, again, we had 1 complaint, 2 complaints actually dealt with in the last quarter, one of which was retracted. So now is a positive resolution there. The other one was actually delayed for quite a substantial amount of time as we were seeking a resolution. And unfortunately, no resolution was managed at that time, so the complaint was closed off. However, since then, we have managed to find the resolution for that. So that's been a very positive outcome there. Target there, and the majority of the KPIs for schools come out once just at the end of the financial year. So these would be reported in the next performance report that would be due. The local government improvement framework priorities, again, you can see in paragraph 7.3 to 7.5 the improvement actions that have been worked on over there. If you look at children's services, they've received training in the use of the Wellbeing Web and Outcomes measurement tool. And again, with education, a lot of it has been to do with embedding the refresh of the Scottish Attainment Challenge within that. Risk management, there's no change within that since the last report. And paragraph 8.4 shows you the risk matrices in terms of where the initial risk stood and revised risks following implementation of actions that were required. Financial performance is still Q2. We didn't have the Q3 update in time for the report, so that again would be reported at the next series. And FOIs, we received 92 FOIs in the last quarter compared to 62 in the previous year. Responded to 83 of them in the quarter, and of these, over 90% were dealt so within the required 30 days. So happy to take any questions, Chair.
Do any members have any questions for Neil at all? Councillor Mackenzie.
Thank you. It's just a progress report on the Stornoway Primary. The last email I received in reply to my question was on the 6th of October. I've discussed it since, but at that time, the progress report was given in my email here, which I would just want to have it confirmed that it is sticking to plan and that it will be complete, construction complete by November, December 2023 and full occupancy in January. So can somebody confirm that is indeed, that it's not slipping behind again?
I can provide a brief update if you wish to, Chair, on
Yeah,
that.
it's not strictly relevant to this item, but
No.
I mean, we'll just give the update and then it's done then.
Okay, absolutely. There is some change being required in the timescale for the project. I would happily provide an update to the member separately to the meeting. That's specifically to do with a requirement that the Corla now has to tender for the provider of the steel frame and tensile fabric for the building. The initial timescale was based on a single source provider for that, but subsequently a second provider has come forward, and as a result of that, the Corla will have to enter into a competitive tendering process for that work, which will affect the timescale for the project. But I can provide that separately to the member if they wish to.
Just take that offline, yeah, just say. Is it?
We'll come back on that then, thank you. The tendering was meant to be completed and the contract awarded during March. So how, between October and now, has that changed? I mean, the kids in Stornoway Primary are running around and they've got nowhere to go, playtime and all the rest of it. So the acting, well, we all know what the conditions have been.
Can I ask, can I ask Ray that we take that offline now and you speak directly to?
Well, I'm sure others
Yeah.
would like to know that, and I'd be happy if all members were told afterwards. Okay.
The tendering that was referenced previously was specifically for professional services to support the construction of the building. It was not in relation to the tensile fabric and steel frame of the building. That had always intended to be, through the whole scoping of the project, to be a single source supplier. There was the additional tendering requirement is for that element of the project, and it's something that we are legally required to do, and we have no ability to adjust timescale accordingly for that.
Let's come back on that, Chairman. In fact, it said that the tendering complete and contract awarded in March. By April, April/May, construction work commences. So, you know, one thing leads on to the other.
The situation.
So I'm quite happy to, and others should probably, to
Yeah,
get the information.
yeah, thanks, Ray. Callum.
Thanks, Chair. It's going back, Mr. MacLeod mentioned in his report there in 6.3. It's to do with the percentage of looked after and accommodated reviews. It does stand out, to be quite honest with you. The figures there, we're achieving for initial assessment reports, that stands at 38.16 in relation to a target of 70%. That is a fairly unacceptable, if we're honest, level of attainment. It's good to see that the quality of the reports have improved, because the quality of the reports were not up to a standard as I was being told by those members on the panel members. But to improve the quality of the reports is not an excuse for not achieving the target. I'm sorry, but that was an implication that came out in what you said, Mr. MacLeod. So I just want to see why. In other words, we're talking about not a massive amount of people, of pupils here. Why on earth is the percentage so low as to be 38, nearly half of what the target was? So there must be some underlying reason for this, Chair.
Who wants to? Jack, do you want to come in on that one, please?
Thank you, Chair. Two things. I would accept that the standard is short of the mark that we would like to achieve, and it's been short of the mark for a considerable period of time. Actually, there are very small improvements. You know, we're still working with the same level of staff that we've had. I've worked here at times where the performance has been far lower than it is at the moment, actually, when it's been down at the low 20s. The target is a very aspirational target. 70% is a very high standard to meet, actually. And I'm not saying we shouldn't have a high standard. Indeed, we should have a high standard. But The service has just taken on some additionality in terms of 2 trainee social workers. So I'm hopeful that over the period of the next 6 months, we should see a more marked improvement. One of the issues was that too many reviews were scheduled to take place within the school holiday period, and we've addressed that because we just had to make cancellations where school were critical to the review of that child's plan. But there are also still a number of reviews that are rescheduled at the behest of family members. We have parents who are working off island as an example, and when the original, we set the date for the review, for example, 6 months before the review. And close to the time, it's not unusual for us to get a request from a family member if we can reschedule that review to accommodate their own life circumstances. But that's not the explanation for it being as slow as it is. It's part of the explanation. Thank you.
Could I ask Chair, again, to follow on from that, has there been an increase in reviews then? If we're talking about this not achieving a target, I take it that the 70% target is ambitious, right enough, but then if you set it, you're looking to attain at least a 65%, but to be down at 38, is there an increase in the reviews? Is there an increase in children being referred to the reporters panels?
I wouldn't say there's a marked increase. Relatively speaking, we do have a high number of children referred to the children's panel relative to our other island authorities. One of the things that, and I've discussed it this week actually with the authority reporter, is we seem to have a disproportionate number of continued hearings. So that's when a panel will make a decision to bring a hearing forward, an early hearing, and that brings with it additionality in terms of the amount of reports that's requested of on staff. And one of the realities for modern day social work is that social workers are having to spend far too much of their time at their desk writing reviews or attending meetings, and spending very little time today actually engaging with children and families. That's one of the things we're trying to wrestle with, trying to cut down on the bureaucracy, making meetings more meaningful, to try and free up social workers to do what they come into the job to do actually, which was engage with people as opposed to be at their desks typing out reports and attending meetings.
Yeah, sorry, Chair, again, it's just want to get at is behaviour. What I'm trying to get to here is we've had police reports, we've had reports in our community about the behaviour especially in Stornoway, about is there an increase in behavioural problems, so that in fact the increase of those being referred to the children's panel has increased. You stated that the numbers are greater than they are in authorities such as Orkney and Shetland. So have we a problem?
No, we've had 5 or 6 consecutive months now of youth offending and youth antisocial behaviour falling in our community, which is, staff have to be commended for that. So, every so often we will see a spate in youth offending and antisocial behaviour within our community. That will be a very, very small percentage of our young people. We constantly remind ourselves in chamber how well behaved and how inspirational our young people are within the community. It's always a small number that generate a large amount of work, I suppose, because we're talking about that at the moment. I suppose one of the things is that you have to see this beyond the behaviour of children, and you've got to see it in as far as the behaviour of adults in the community. The vast majority of reports that will be, or certainly the majority of reports that we will submit to authority reporter, are due to the behaviour of adults, of parents, and not the behaviour of children. So and I suppose we have to poverty will come into play. You know, we are living through a cost of living crisis at the moment, and we do know that that brings difficulties for families. That, you know, it makes parenting a bit more difficult. So there are multiple challenges at the moment for our, you know, some of our impoverished and vulnerable families in the community. But you know, we are trying to address that through directing services where we can towards early intervention and prevention, and we do that in partnership with education and health and the third sector. Thank you.
What we'll do, Cam, is we'll obviously you've picked up on this. We'll follow that up for the next meeting and report back to and follow that up and try and look at where that's.
Thanks, Chair. May I say to Mr. Libby, he's doing a wonderful job in difficult times. And I'm sure many of the members would agree that it's not the easiest of tasks you've got in the circumstances that we find ourselves in. But I would say that your staff are doing it, although not achieving the targets they're still performing a good work.
Okay. Does anyone else? Okay, so do members agree recommendation 3.1? You. So item 4 is obviously in private. So we'll move on to item 5, education provision, a strategy for Gaelic education in the Western Isles. This report informs members of the development of a strategy for Gaelic education in the Western Isles. The strategy is appended to the report, and Mary-Claire Ferguson will speak to the report and answer any questions. Thanks, Mary-Claire.
The purpose of the paper is to provide school leaders and staff with guidance, support and best practice to ensure high quality learning and teaching across all stages. We hope then bringing consistency and equity in the delivery of Gaelic education provision from 0 to 18. Clear expectations have been outlined within the strategy underpinning Education Scotland's Gaelic plan, which creates an ambitious future for Gaelic education. Defining Gaelic as having 3 interrelated components: Gaelic medium education, Gaelic learner education, and the promotion of learning about Gaelic language and culture as part of Scotland's identity. The strategy will be used in conjunction with the newly updated advice on Gaelic education, alongside and complementing the quality frameworks of Higius, Early Learning and Childhood Setting, and the document Realising the Ambition. We hope the paper will change and evolve and provide a focus on best practice, areas for discussion, and enable staff to plan effectively to support Gaelic language development in the delivery of Gaelic medium education and Gaelic learner education, focusing on emerging priorities and sharing current resources and links. We will amend the paper and update it in August of this year, and that will be in response to any change in legislation and taking account of the feedback from our pupils, our parents and carers, and staff and other agencies across the authority. And I'm happy to take any questions around the paper.
Does anybody have any questions for Mary-Claire? Thanks, Mary-Claire. Okay, no questions. Insofar as the interests of the committee are concerned, do members agree the recommendation at 3.1? Item 6, a proposal for an increase to the sustainable rate allocated to partner provider nurseries. This report seeks approval for the proposed increase to the sustainable rate allocated to partner provider nurseries, and I will ask Ms. Carol Burns to speak to the report. Thanks, Carol. That's it. Yeah, I couldn't see with it.
The proposal is for an increase to sustainable rate allocated to partner provider nurseries, which are an essential part of childcare provision that we provide here in terms of early years. This exercise was undertaken and there has been no increase in the sustainable rate since 2019. This is in line with the documentation Funding Following the Child as set out by the Scottish Government, and it states that payment of the sustainable rate is to fund childminding sector, and it's a vital supporting financial sustainability, and it's a key aspect of the Funding Following the Child. The rate paid to funded providers needs to be a rate that supports delivery of high quality early learning and childcare experiences, which we know is essential for, at an early level for children to develop and learn. It is a rate that reflects the cost of the delivery, including delivery of national policy objectives, and the rate will allow for investment in setting staff resources and physical environment. It also enables payment of the real living wage for those childcare workers delivering the funded entitlement. Along with Anne MacLeod and also Ian Gordon Smith, we collected data. We looked across all of the settings and we looked at what each individual partner provider had in terms of capacity for funded 2 and 3 to 5-year-olds. The current attendance numbers of the funded 2 to 3 to 5-year-olds, the overheads for the buildings and utility costs for the services, overheads and materials and equipment, and allowance for investment and development of the services. And from that, we looked at what the costing would be. And what the proposal is for the 2-year-olds that it be £5.75, and for 3 to 5-year-olds £5.55. And as you'll see within the report 6.2, we have also given some of the sustainable rates set by other authorities. Dundee City, East Ayrshire, North Ayrshire have not set theirs, North Lanarkshire, Inverclyde, Western Bartonshire and Glasgow City Centre. So the exercise undertaken with the partners has produced a rate which has increased by 4.5%, and we have identified budget to cover the rate. Most of the monies is within the main place fund and budget. We have been able to look at existing budgets that we have where we can, where we can make this provision from. I'm happy to take any questions that anybody has.
Does anybody have any questions for Carol? Just to introduce Carol. So I should have introduced Carol. Carol's the early years manager. So apologies to you, Carol, for not doing that earlier at the beginning.
No problem.
Anybody have any questions for Carol? Okay, thanks. Where are we? So do members agree recommendation 3.1? Thank you. Right, we'll move on to item 8, which is sport. Enhancing community physical activity through Crown Estate funding and update. And this report provides an update on the community benefit of the allocation of Crown Estate funding targeted at group community physical activity across the Outer Hebrides. And I think Mr. Ian G.G. Campbell is speaking to the report. Or either is Tony there as well? Either Tony or G.G. doesn't really matter which.
Yeah.
So okay, Tony. Sorry, Tony. Carry on.
No, that's fine, Chair. Thanks very much. The purpose of the report is to update members on an initiative which Sport and Health rolled out last September. So the information is based on the first 4 months of the operation of the project, and the purpose was to support our sports clubs and organisations affiliated to the local sports councils with good quality coaching and governance. And it's a good news story, which in the current climate is always a good thing. Over that 4-month period, 264 sessions were delivered across 13 different sports and supported those clubs and groups which offer diversionary activities to our youngsters to the value of about £15,000 over that period. What that's done is freed up resources which normally would have paid our service for facility hire to do other things. So, for instance, Stornoway United have installed a storage container at the all-weather pitch at Smith Avenue. That will improve the delivery of activities, and that's resources that would previously have had to be paid to us, and we're recouping our revenue through the use of the Crown Estate funding. So literally from the Butt to Barra, clubs have benefited from Nest Football Club to Barra community groups, and it's been a really positive initiative for us, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Does anybody have any? Kenny.
Okay, thank you very much, Chair, and thank you very much, Tony, for your report. It's great to see this report, and it's good to see the initial report coming in front of, I think it was it Education or PNR last year, taking £50,000 out of the Crown Estate funding to go towards the paying for the use of the Cornwallis sporting facilities. Over the period September to December 22, do you think more groups have used facilities because it was being paid for them?
Actually in the process of doing a feedback exercise just now, so we'll probably have more information over that in the next few weeks. But it certainly appeared to us that what was happening was these clubs who are integral to offering, like I said before, diversionary activities have provided services which are essential to our young people, because we're not in a position where we have a massive amount of activities for youngsters. Clearly, we don't have the same range of options available. So sport becomes much more significant. And I think that's the biggest benefit of the project, is looking at the numbers of people involved, numbers of young people involved, and the range of sports, everything from archery to canoeing to football to rugby, athletics, swimming, 13 different sports, all benefiting from a creative use of external funding.
Kenny,
Okay.
did you want to? You're happy with that?
Thank you very much for that, Tony. Very much appreciated, and thanks again for all your hard work, yourself and Gigi's hard work on this project.
Ray.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I just concur with what's been said there, and it's a fantastic effort on behalf of the the sports department. And when you think that it refers to 34 clubs and organisations, and that's fantastic in itself. But when you think each one of these organisations takes in so many other individuals, from the butt to bara, it's for very little money, it's achieving a heck of a lot. And congratulations to the council for awarding the money, and hope it continues, but also to Tony Wade and his staff.
Thanks, Ray. Yeah. Okay, thanks, guys. Do members agree the recommendation at 3.1? Thank you. Right, we'll move on to item 9, Young Scott update. Western Isles. This report provides an update to members on Young Scott performance in the Western Isles. The Young Scott Insight report from September 2022 is appended to the report, and Erica Clark, CLD officer, will speak to the report. And just before Erica starts, I just wanted to welcome Alana Logue, who's one of our Youth Parliament representatives, and I'm hoping that Alana will be able to come to all the meetings from now on, if you're happy to come. I mean, I don't know if you want to spend your time doing this, but if you're happy to come, then I think we're happy to have you. I think we'll be happy enough to accept you, and maybe you can give a presentation at maybe one of the future meetings just on the work. I actually wanted to have a chat with you about a particular issue that had come up. I spoke to a couple of your colleagues earlier in the year, last year, and about a vote that was taking place in the Youth Parliament. So I'll maybe follow up with you after the meeting about that. Right. Okay. Thanks, Erica.
Thank you, Chair. This report just provides an update on the performance of Young Scott from April to September 2022. As you'll see in the report, the Young Scott, we pay an annual fee to Young Scott from the CLD budget for Young Scott products and services, and its related opportunities and discounts. So the uptake on the card has been high, with 92% of those eligible having a card. 10% at the co-op is one of the well-known benefits, and the 16 to 18 ferry vouchers is also well-known. In January 2022, the under-22s free bus travel scheme launched. It was a soft launch due to the COVID restrictions at the time. National advertising didn't roll out until autumn. You'll see in the report some figures relating to the uptake of the card. The uptake of the under-22s free bus travel. So just to explain, this is an opt-in scheme. So those who had a card before January 2022 had to reapply. Nationally, there is an online application that has been criticised quite heavily for how it's quite complicated. Locally, we have an offline application process, which the customer services staff they know where to direct everyone to. But in November, nationally in Scotland, there was 58% uptake of the scheme. And you'll see in our report from ages 12 to 15, it is lower than we'd like, 34%. And in the 16 to 21% age category, it's 55%. That's just a wee bit of an insight, but I'm happy to take any questions.
Do anybody have any questions for Erica? Oh, sorry, Cam. Sorry, I'm going blind. I need these glasses. I need my telescope. I'll tell you, that's what I need. Thanks, Cam.
All right, Chair. I think most chair have a problem with their left eyes up there.
What was that?
More to the right here, to the left over that side. Yeah, I think that, Erica, thank you for this report. I think the Young Scot is a very good initiative, actually, for those who actually take it on board. And what you've got there, the uptake is at 90% is very successful and well done in that regard. Well done in your work amongst the young people anyway. But I'd like to look at the Young Carers package. You mentioned in the middle of your report there, and you're saying that 6 young carers in the Cornwall and Sheer have signed up to the Young Carers package. Let me say, first of all, that the young carers are doing a sterling amount of work. Absolutely amazing, the work that they're doing in homes where they are required, where either their parents are suffering or they've got siblings with them. They're absolutely to be praised for the work they're doing. The numbers there are 6 young carers in Cornwall and Sheer. These young people access 10 young carers opportunities. Would you say that you're getting to many of them? 6 seems to be a small number, but yet their numbers aren't that high. But there may be some out there that aren't accessing the help that they require, that they should be getting.
I would agree with that. There are more than that across the Western Isles, and that's part of what we're trying to do with our promotion. So we're trying to get to mostly, obviously, the secondary schools, making sure young people know about these opportunities. And when these opportunities are, they're nationally, you've got the website and everything, but that is definitely an area. And there's a lot of the opportunities within Young Scot, to have their voices heard, to go to national events that probably a lot of our young people are missing out on. And again, it's capacity of staff, being able to get into the schools, but that is definitely an area where we should promote it more for the young carers.
Leader.
Thanks, Chair. I agree with Calum's point, absolutely. And thanks, Erica, for the report and the work that's happening. The point at 6.4 about primary 7s automatically joining, I think that's really sensible. It gets them in early, and over the next few years, we'll see the benefits of that. And hopefully they'll take up more of the opportunities. The point I was going to make was I met with Louise MacDonald, Director General of the Economy last week, and she was obviously former Chief Executive of Youth Scotland. And she was encouraging us, and we are actively pushing this, but for the ferry travel, there's free under 22s bus travel, but really the ferries are what's important to our young people as well. It gives them the opportunity to get to the mainland, reduces their cost, but if they're going away for interviews or like I say, any of these nationwide opportunities. So she was very encouraging in encouraging us to keep pushing that. So just that raise that just now. Thanks.
Thanks, Leader. Angus.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Thank you, Erica, for your report. I understand how young people would use. I'm delighted at the take up, by the way. I understand that young people would use this for things like travel and using it when they're away from here. But is there much opportunity for young people to use the card on island in the Western Isles?
So discount-wise, discount-wise, 10% off the Co-op is a very popular one. The Crofters do a discount as well, We Studios. But over recent years, we haven't been contacting local businesses to get discounts, just purely due to the times we're living in. But we have previously looked at linking the card with the library so that the card can be used dual purpose and also with the Sláinte scheme. And at that point, there was an issue with they didn't match up somehow. So that was a way. And we use the Young Scot Services for when we're doing votes. So the online platforms can be used for that. So that's also a way that, so for participatory budgeting for young people, a way it can be used. So the Cornwall wide can be accessing these services as well. But there is, again, the majority of the time for staff, it's focusing on the processing of the cards, P7 rollout and inputs at schools. And then to develop it, it does take that extra bit of time, which we haven't been able to invest in as much as we would like.
I understand that perfectly. And will it become an online card? I mean, we've just seen what happens to local companies with M&Co.
So there's a huge range of online discounts as well. And that's what we promote. We promote locally, but we really do push the online discounts and also when they go on holiday, because for families as well, we're trying to make sure that they know when they go to discounts or the free entry they can get. And again, you mentioned the ferries. I think that reflects with the 92% of those, pre the under 22 bus travel, and the uptake then, because the ferry families are every way we can save money. We're wanting to support them. So, yeah, it's just getting the word out there for the online discounts as well as those locally.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Angus. Okay, is there any other questions? And doesn't look like it. Right, so do members agree recommendation 3.1? Okay, thanks a lot. GLIB. GLIB report. This report provides an update on the work taking place in schools as part of the commemoration of the centenary sailings of the SS Marnock and the SS Metagama in April 1923. I will ask Evelyn Cool-McLeod to speak to the report and answer any questions. Evelyn, thanks.
Capelate, even Carol. Gyda has seo y thord spican fysrachi who in obydd ha goalaja who project GLIB y cochrych y ciad blion as y yiplin on y hiol nes eis marlachs and nes eis metagama. Nes if useful chai in nahish seo ysgrifig ha grwn rwydyn yr ahrachig egus tor obydd y goalaja na'r sgolchen o hosach na blion. Ha Hiad date agin Sean Tachardus hias in a vac at the Skull Artang agus Skull a vac at the 21st gan Navias agus hashing nochas gamina date hin agin Sean na Keir Tachardusin na 3 Tachardusin ele a hachris ro lion said in the cashke. Fema mi bechorgo minach nachil skull na woch govi mar farst gan in drama it was a goal ate adar uig biarnarai agus skid in the woch hashin arige kutjoch agus a big an arige goal ate an nuist leishgevel in camwa a tuchim tro lion sud in the cashke hashin big an dalig ud na planich naking agus lishin chavi drama an ach hashin an the koraien lenne skolchen a goal parst agus kutjoch le buinen lehage stodas uish agus kushne gloset gus tachardus an ele agus taikechamal an the chifergoyen. A strain of lion sere be da hachardus ele goalage ag art skol vi knekel sin skol wachgestel agus bin skol storne vai a neige vlagiag agus in narne va fiche gan jipling get sé in je hunje an the storne va kiad blian on a hiol a metagama ha sin gamas tachardus a chuidir dói I dhinne saharn ha sin gamas córain a chamal le gronji fer bhuiinen gus tachardus chuidir dói a vir isteach scolarin fó fuch na hélannen ach ha sin tra íren as na córain sin chanim mir son kusa graf me héin sin ach opad innevilte gáláte ha sin je fein tor Jofiach gan y ddasg gyfil y chwys y cord ydyn y sgolaf yn agos cwdiach ddyn y dyn y hadol ysdiach fawr ffagr coersnach gan gysiohort gybwyl agos cha i siw, chan ylfys ac ymwyl ar ffyr smahid gymi coelich yn o gas da ond i'ch gyfil cwyd je fael fo cwmyniach dristor na fai eidrych fwn y 1920s chwrorys a dy dolstiach yn ysgoltion ach stoch fi cwyd gen y bail y swrin yn ceis sy'n iarafych ein a mi tolit ceistion sy'n byr ac ydych chwys.
Thanks, Evan. That would be a sigh, wouldn't it? Thanks a lot. Does anybody have any questions, please? No. Oh, sorry, Angus.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not a member of your committee, but just a quick question for Evelyn. Is there any specific reason why Sconaloch are not partaking, Evelyn? Is there something, or do you want us to discuss it with the forum or with the meeting?
No, ha mi tolit gilior so record in the rest. Tidach fad the fadach gyn who no by the vad the January on concert in Novak agus a hulne Amazon agus bulen is on curriculum for sad van his go kusan gaif pars to go al ach ha dynne de vid dolstach is on the skialach genische gaif agus had stoche kwa die woede gen der reality January ach vad han wel toch nu de hole sin shit. Ach tig mi chod trangs a sgoltion agus uolwch teacherin.
Leader.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I suppose it's the same question as Angus, but I know the answer. It's the Easter holidays, and unfortunately, a vessel actually left Loch Boysdale when it was supposed to, so that's probably why the delays are happening then.
Does anybody have any more questions for Evelyn?
Just on moddwch chwrn yn le sioch yr doi agos hachwech drios man ha rydych chi am ysdiach yn y cholt sy'n nôl agos yr coios yn ffat blion chi'n môr. Diolch eist yr adol fel y chwar yr son cwantr sy'n striau faif sy'n dyfod tapyn.
Gejara fe hasyn yn ochus gynnyd y chwle tachardus y chwarig le yn y fi yn y cwrle agos gymi stoch fwyd yn eile yn och gygas tron y flion fein gan ha jalaf chwych môr am agos mae'r ffars gan hyn hasyn y teug na sgialwch gan yn y dal agos bi corym ag na sgolad yn sy'n ych lach agos o'n golf gwmod yn y dal le na drama yn ac na sadr yrd y flion so bi sy'n jesal gaif ma had y geri sy'n y gianw.
Councillor Francis Murray.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Evelyn, for your report. I just wanted to say I happened to be at a parent council meeting in Stornoway Primary last week, and we were using a classroom I hadn't been in since 1975, so that brought me back, and it was really nice to see on the whiteboard evidence of somebody had been in from the Historical Society, and all the words up on the board to do with the local history and such an important aspect of our local history, and to realise that a new generation of young people are learning about that in a way, as we saw with the ILA, that perhaps other generations hadn't done. And it is such an important aspect of what has the history of the islands, and I was really encouraged to see that. And it looked, I wasn't there for the session, but just looking at the words up on the board, you could see evidence of a really good lesson. I think that'll have a benefit for the young people going forward to know their history. And I'd also like to note, just at this point when we're talking about commemorations, that of course this month, on the 27th of this month, it's the 150th anniversary of the Nicholson Institute. So there are a lot of things been marked as well as the Metagama and the Marloch. It's 150th anniversary this month of the Nicholson.
Okay, thanks, Francis. Does anyone else have any questions? Okey-dokey. So do members agree recommendation 3.1? Thank you. Move on to item 11, which is Learning Estate Member Officer Working Group Appointment of Member. This report is to consider the appointment of an elected member from Uig and Carloway to the Learning Estate Member Officer Working Group, and Derek will speak to this report, please.
Yeah, the Corn established the Learning States Member Officer Working Group in June 2022. At that time, they did not make an appointment. They appointed a member from each ward, with the exception of Skirugos, Carlac, as the by-election was still to be held. This report just seeks a member to be appointed from that ward. Member does not need to be a member of the Education Committee.
Yeah. So do I have any nominations, please? Councillor.
Can I nominate my next door neighbour here? Mr. Donald Burr.
So Councillor Mackay nominates Councillor MacDonald. Do we have a seconder, please? Everybody, the whole of the chamber, right? Okay. Okay. So Councillor MacDonald has been elected to the was it the Learning Estates Member Officer Working Group? So thank you. Right. Report. Sorry, Chair. Sorry.
Can the committee, has this group met since June?
No, the group has not met, but we are due to hold a meeting in the next within the next month. Yeah, due to meet within the next month.
Okay, thanks. So, right. So we'll move on to performance monitoring, reports outstanding. Do members agree the report? And is there any questions anybody wants to ask? Okie dokie. So thanks. We'll now move into private. We'll start with item 4. So we'll just move into private, please. Yeah.